Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for those who've joined us so far. We're just going to wait a couple of more minutes just to allow for folks to sign in and log into the webinar. So please be patient. We'll be starting in about a minute or so. We're going to wait about another minute before we begin. Folks are still logging in and joining us. Awesome. Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Countdown to Columbia, Life as a Columbia Student. The next hour, we'll be talking about LGBTQ at Columbia, which is one of our program series, a part of undergraduate student life. Before we get started, I just want to quickly introduce myself. My name is Vanessa Gonzalez-Siegel. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm the Associate Director for Multicultural Affairs and LGBTQ Outreach in undergraduate student life. So I oversee and direct LGBTQ at Columbia. A few pieces, just housekeeping before we get started. There may be some issues with the AI closed captioning. So if there is no closed captioning available to you on your view, the closed captioning will be uploaded before this webinar is uploaded online. This is being recorded and you will be able to use it and view it later on. Awesome. So let's just kind of get started. So LGBTQ at Columbia. So we're part of Multicultural Affairs, which is a part of undergraduate student life. And so what we do at LGBTQ Columbia is that we work on advocacy, education, student group advisement, specifically the LGBTQ student undergraduate groups, outreach with a larger university, programming, so large community events, and also one-on-one student support, whether that's student support navigating different resources, identity development, coming out, things like that. We work with that as well. And these are the order that we will go through the different pieces. I can imagine that coming into college and coming into a school with resources such as LGBTQ at Columbia, you may have a lot of questions that you want answered. Feel free to utilize the Q&A function to submit your questions throughout this webinar. There will be time at the end where I will go over your questions and review them and answer them out loud. I will not answer questions that have already been answered through the presentation, but I may kind of, review back or jump back quickly. If that sounds good, we're gonna get started. So before we do the webinar, we're actually gonna do a Kahoot. So if folks aren't familiar, a Kahoot is a quiz, an online trivia. So if you can open up your mobile device, whether it's an iPad or a tablet or even your computer, and go to the web address kahoot.it. And let me get out of this really quickly and go over. Awesome. So you're going to be given a prompt with a code to type in. There you go. So if you go to Kahoot Pocket and enter in the game PIN, which is 960312. If you don't feel comfortable playing, that's totally fine. This quiz is mainly just some queer trivia and also some Columbia queer history as well. So it's a mixed quiz, and I hope it'll get Welcome, Mar. Y'all don't want to play? JH, welcome. And welcome friends are joining the quiz. This isn't a test of intellect or knowledge. It's just a fun kind of kitchen way of just sharing some information. So all you need to take notes and be on the floor. In a couple of seconds, we're just going to start the quiz. If you're still joining, for a second. In what year did the Stonewall riots happen? Yeah, the Stonewall riots happened in June of 1969. Good job, y'all. All right, some folks in the lead. Again, this is not a competition, but we do have a scoreboard. Our second question is, in what year was the first LGBTQ student org at Columbia established? Your best guess? Yes, so surprisingly, the first LGBTQ student organization at Columbia was founded in 1966. So it predates the Stonewall riots. The student group still exists today as Columbia Queer Alliance. At the time, it was operating under the name the Student Homophile League. And it is the oldest LGBTQ student group at a college campus in the nation, which is a really exciting history. And the building where they used to have their meetings, Earl Hall, is still on campus. And the past year, it was actually designated a historical national landmark because of that. So it's really exciting history at Columbia that predates Stonewall. All right, M, I see you out here. All right, in what year did young trans activist Jazz Jennings publish her children's book, I Am Jazz? 2014, yes. If folks are familiar, Jazz Jennings is a trans woman who has a television show. She's been a young activist for many, many years. She has a television show on TLC called I Am Jazz, and published a children's book that discusses trans identity, which is a really amazing resource, and a lot of parents give it to their children. It's a really great book if you aren't aware. All right, M is still in the lead, followed up by G, Nicole, and Mar. All right, y'all. Brenda Howard, a bisexual activist, is known as the mother of pride because Pride Parade. And the original Pride was had a different route than the current one in New York. So now the New York City Pride, kind of the larger Pride, goes down by Christopher Street and through the Village, whereas the original Pride route actually went up through Midtown and ended in Central Park. If folks are interested in getting more connected with Pride and kind of in that kind of organizations in New York, happy to talk about that further in the Q&A. But there's a newer organization called the Queer Liberation March, and it actually follows the original Pride route that Brenda had originated. Let's see. Okay, Mar, coming up. These two folks were the first recorded same-sex couple, 2400 BC. Where did they live? Yes, ancient Egypt. This couple was the first recorded same-sex couple, though I'm sure, you know, I would venture a guess and put money on the fact that there have been many queer couples, trans couples, non-binary folks existing throughout history, and this was one of the first recorded instances of that. Ooh, okay, the scoreboard has been flipped. G is in the lead, followed by M, Mar, Nicole, and JH. All right. Kim Coco Iwamoto became the first openly trans public official to win statewide office in what year? 2006, yes. And I believe it was in California, though don't quote me on that. Let's see. Ooh, Mar with the streak. And M is in the lead. What is the name of a famous lesbian poet born in 30? The image is, I guess. Great. Hopefully the image is a little bit of a hint. Let's see. Okay, holding steady, y'all, holding steady. What is the name of the openly gay man who organized the 1963 March on Washington with Martin Luther King? Bayard Rustin. Yes, Bayard Rustin was a civil rights leader in the civil rights movement with Martin Luther King and was an openly gay man. Let's see. Ooh, G is in the lead with M, Mar, GH, and Savion in following. All right. Kai Lums was the first openly trans NAACP Division I athlete in 2010. What was his sport? Basketball. Yeah, pretty evenly across the board. Yeah. Kai was at basketball. I believe he was at George Washington University, and it really led the NCAA to really think about what does it mean that there are trans athletes in the division and in the organization. And it led to a lot of sweeping changes within sports, which is a lot of work that still is continuing. And at Columbia as well. All right, so we have Mar in the lead, followed by G, M, Savion, and JH. When is National Coming Out Day? Yes, National Coming Out Day is on October 11th. Let's see. Okay, Mars on the lead, followed by MG. Savion is, oh, and Nicole. All right, Savion, you got a little streak. You're coming up. I appreciate you. All right, what is the name of the direct action organization that fought to end the AIDS crisis? if folks watch Pose in season 2, I forget which episode, ACT UP is actually highlighted in one of the episodes. And there's a really famous slogan of ACT UP and fight AIDS. Yeah. All right, G is in the lead, followed by Mar, M, Stefan, and Nicole. All right, y'all. Again, I'm sorry there's no prize, but I appreciate y'all participating. Yes, Yasmine Benoit is a noted activist within this community. Yasmin is an asexual activist, really does some really amazing work, and I really recommend checking them out. They have a YouTube channel and also a website as well. Let's see. Okay, M, all right, M is in the lead. Let's see if that holds. It's been switching, I appreciate that, y'all. All right. Sharice Davis is the first openly LGBT Native American to serve in Congress. Which state does she represent? Kansas, yes. Sharice Davis represents the people in the state of Kansas. All right, scoreboard stays the same. In 1960, this person founded Columbia's first. What is their team? Stephen Donaldson is actually a pseudonym that the student at the time of Columbia used to organize queer and trans students on campus. And to honor that legacy, we actually have a space that I'll be talking about in a little bit where a lot of our programming happens called the Stephen Donaldson Lounge. You'll hear that name a lot at Columbia, and a lot of stuff happens in that lounge. So it's a very common name you'll hear on campus. Let's see. All right, M is still in the lead, but Mars catching up. What was the original name of Columbia's first student? Ooh, I think I gave it away a little earlier. Someone remember that. Yep, Student Homophile League, yes. For the two folks, Columbia Queer Alliance is the current name of the organization, but the Student Homophile League was the original name. And the group has been continuously active and recognized by the university since the 60s. So it's a really, really proud history that we have. And yes, Student Homophile League. Didn't realize I gave that away earlier. Let's see. Emma's on the lead. Okay. This intersex activist started the hashtag intersex stories in 2000. Yeah, Bonus actually recently, really excitingly, was able to successfully organize folks in Chicago to have a major children's hospital in Chicago apologize for performing intersex surgeries on infants. So it's really great, and yes, an amazing person, amazing activist to follow, also on Instagram, also on YouTube, really great person that I recommend following. All right, Emma's in the lead, but G is catching up. This GS, or School of General Studies dean, was a visible and outspoken advocate for LGBTQ, HIV positive, and military Yeah, so Peter J. Dean On had been at Columbia for decades. Dean On passed a couple of years ago, and just to honor his legacy and all that he's done for students, as a part of Lavender graduation, which is something we'll talk about in a little bit, one of our faculty staff awards is actually named after Dean On, just to honor the legacy that he did and for folks who also contribute to the community as well. He's a really great person with a wonderful legacy. Okay, G caught up, and then M, ooh, okay, G, but I see your streak. I see you, I see you. Her memoir about her life as a trans woman is captured in Redefining Realness. Janet Mock is a noted trans activist and storyteller. She has 2 books, Redefining Realness being her first. Her second one was Surpassing Certainty, about her 20s and young adulthood. And now she's currently a director, writer, and producer for Pose, if you did not know. All right, G is still in the lead. G is still in the lead. All right. What year was Proud Colors, the Columbia QTPOC student group, founded? Proud Colors, when were they founded? Yeah, so Proud Colors, which is Columbia's QTPOC student group, was founded in the 90s, back in 95. Who got that? G and Mar, okay. All right, G's still in the lead. In what year was GS Alliance founded? GS Alliance is the LGBT student group at the School of General Studies. What year? Yes, 1997. Good guess, y'all. GS Alliance is the LGBTQ student group at the School of General Studies. All right, holding steady. The scoreboard stays the same. What year was the LGBTQ pride flag designed by Gilbert Baker? What year was the pride flag designed? Yes, the LGBT pride flag as we know it today was designed in 1978. Let's see, let's see. Okay, G and Mar are still holding steady. This Black lesbian poet wrote, "The master's tools will never dismantle the master's house." Yes, it was Audre Lorde. For those who don't know, Audre Lorde is also an alum of the university, got her master's in library science. And is a really noted poet and really great thinker, and someone who I personally get my political inspiration from her work. Let's see, let's see. Ooh, G has been unseated by Mar. Okay. What year was the student org Gender Revolution founded? Gender Rev? What year was Gender Rev founded? So Gender Revolution, also known as Gender Rev in shorthand on campus, is our Columbia Barnard's LGBTQ group for trans, non-binary, and gender non-conforming students. It is both an advocacy and a social group, and it was founded in 2012. Let's see, let's see, let's see. Oh, G is back in the lead. G is back in the lead. The South Asian gender non-conforming performance artist published Femme in Public in 2017. Yes, artist's name is Alok Menon. I think they're Brooklyn based. They've been on campus a number of times. Yes, Femme in Public, another great work that I highly recommend checking out, and also follow Alok on Instagram. Alok posts really amazing stuff. Okay, G is still in the lead. This choreographer is known for transforming modern dance and founding their own dance theater. Alvin Ailey is a really well-known choreographer, and the dance group, I'm pretty sure, is still running today. Really amazing, really kind of influential throughout the 80s and 90s and kind of that time frame, yeah. Yes, G, still in the lead. But folks are catching up. Folks are you know, gaining points, making up for the difference, yes. The student organization Queer and Asian was founded at Columbia So Q&A, Queer and Asian, or also known as Q&A on campus, was founded in 2015. All right, Nicole's catching up. Nicole, we see you. Name the author who wrote Giovanni's Room, published in 1956, who told a love story between two men. A prolific writer, amazing thinker, highly recommend reading Giovanni's Room and other work as well. All right, Mar is in the lead. Okay, wow, y'all are trading places for the top pick, the top spot. This lead singer of the band Queen was bisexual. I'm pretty sure the photo gave it away. Yes, Freddie Mercury. Very good. All right, Mar still maintaining the lead. This bisexual author wrote Bad Feminist in 2014 and wrote for the World of Wakanda comics in 2007. Mar is still in the lead. This Venezuelan Puerto Rican trans activist was a founding member of the Gay Liberation Front and STAR. Yes, so Silvia Rivera is a Stonewall veteran and also a founding member of the Gay Liberation Front that kind of morphed into the current queer rights movement, and also STAR, which is an organization for trans folks doing sex work in New York City. Last year, we actually did an event called See You Out of the Town. So we did a walking tour of the village, and we actually visited where the STAR House where the former STAR House was in the village. It was really cool. Next. Okay. Mara's still in the lead, but JH has a little streak catching up. Emma Solkowitz is a non-binary activist known for an anti-sexual. Emma was really known for carrying their bed around just to kind of signify awareness around anti-sexual violence on college campuses. Mar is still in the lead, but Emma's catching up. Emma's catching up. All right, we're almost at the end, y'all. Young activist Emma Gonzalez is known for those who may not know, Emma Gonzalez is a survivor of the parking shooting in Florida and has since dedicated a lot of their time in their life to advocating to end gun violence. Let's see. JH is catching up, but Mar is holding steady. Monica Helms, a trans woman and Navy vet, created the trans pride flag in this year. Trans pride flag was created in the year 2000. So a little bit after the kind of the rainbow flag was created. All right, holding steady. Trans activist Pauline Park became the first ever trans Grand Marshal of New York City Pride in what year? 2005. In the late 90s or early 2000s, Silvia Rivera has marched as a part of the parade, but Pauline Park was the first Grand Marshal of the New York City Pride Parade. All right, Nicole's catching up, but Mar and M are holding steady at 1 and 2. 35, Joe Ladin became the first openly trans professor at an Orthodox Jewish college. Yes, in 2007. Let's see. Okay, everyone's holding steady. The scoreboard is saying the same. Last question, y'all. Silver and this woman were among many queer and trans folks of color who led the Stonewall riots. Awesome. Let's see. And congrats, and then it's first. All right, let me just go back to the presentation. Good job, y'all. I really appreciate that. So one, I hope you enjoyed the Kahoot, one, to kind of as like an interactive educational piece, but also that you learned something. And so, you know, through LGBTQ Columbia, whether it's via our advocacy, our group, student group advisement, outreach, or programming, we hope to not only just foster a supportive community that's affirming of gender and sexuality, but also that it's educational, right? Whether that's inter-community education or intra-community, so outside the community education as well. So quickly to jump into advocacy, one of the pieces that we do is advocacy. So we can advocate without hearing from students and having students be a part of the process. So we have something called the Queer and Trans Advisory Board, which is part of the larger Multicultural Affairs Advisory Council. So there are 4 boards. QTAB, as this board is also known as, is one of them. There's the First Gen and/or Low Income Student Advisory Board, the Student of Color Advisory Board, as well as the International Student Advisory Board. And so all of these boards are comprised of CCNC students who work in partnership with Multicultural Affairs to identify and address LGBT community needs and advocacy points. And this is a photo of some of our current board members. And just a little insight on kind of past and current advocacy projects. So one of the past projects that QTAB has done is the 2018 LGBTQ Student Survey, which was the first survey of its kind at Columbia that actually targeted and had the intention to capture LGBTQ student concerns, issues, and experiences on campus. And the results of that survey has directly informed different offices and areas throughout the university to be more competent and more inclusive, and of course, above all, affirming of queer and trans students and their needs. Another project that came out is Q Splash, which is a queer, trans, and body positive pool party and CC swim test. For folks who are incoming Columbia College students, you've probably heard of the swim test. Could potentially be a lot of barriers for students. There are waivers and exemptions that could be had for folks on the basis of gender identity. However, QTAB wanted to create a affirming space, comfortable space for the community to just have a pool party, but also do the swim test as well. So we closed down the pool, convert the locker rooms to be gender inclusive. We trained the lifeguards to give gender affirming swim tests. The first Q Splash was in 2019 and had over 40 students come. In 2019, obviously it was put on hold, unfortunately, because of COVID-19, but we're looking forward to hopefully having this back in the upcoming year. And then our current project is an LGBTQ student wellness guide. If you are interested in joining the QTAB and being involved in advocacy at the university through this metrics, stay tuned at the end. We'll talk about how to get involved. So we also do a lot of education. We have our CU Safe Zone training, which is a 3-hour training session that provides foundational knowledge needed to support and act in solidarity with LGBTQ plus communities at Columbia. So we do many trainings throughout the year. I do a lot of the trainings, but a lot of my other colleagues are also trained in giving this training. We do 2 open sessions, meaning anybody, faculty, staff, or students can sign up and join. 2 sessions per semester. And then we do different ones for different offices and areas of the university on request. We've also partnered with different student organizations, fraternities and sororities, and just different areas of the university, so to create a more affirming community on campus. And we also talk a lot about policies and resources that protect and safeguard LGBTQ+ students. We also do a shortened one called LGBTQ 101, which is a 1-hour, also foundational knowledge. It's really talking about terminology, pronouns, and then also policies and resources. So some of our LGBTQ student organizations, since I oversee LGBTQ Columbia, I advise all of the CCNC's LGBTQ student groups, which is I think about 8 or 9 at this point, and I'll go through them really quickly. I'll read their name, their bio, and then I actually have a screenshot of their social media. So feel free to follow them on Instagram and Facebook as we go along. So starting in alphabetical order, there's a group called All Sex. It is a discussion-based group at Barnard and Columbia dedicated to the empowerment and fulfillment of the sexual self. That is their Instagram at CU All Sex. As I'm going through this, feel free to take a picture of the screen or take a quick snapshot just to follow later on. Really appreciate the follow. Most of the groups are really active on the social media and keep up with like meetings and events and things that are happening through there. Also their stories, they're really good big story posters. We have Columbia Queer Alliance, which is again the oldest continually recognized LGBTQ student group in the nation on a college campus. Columbia Queer Alliance is the full name, but it's also colloquial known as CQA on campus. And this is their Facebook, just look up CQA. It is a social space for queer and trans students and their allies from the 4 undergraduate colleges. So there are students on this board from CCNC's, GS, and Barnard. All groups are open to members of all schools, but CQA has historically had board positions that have been represented from all the 4 schools. We have Columbia IQ, which is an affinity group for LGBTQ undergraduate students in science, technology, engineering, and medicine. A lot of folks from C's are in this group, but of course there are folks in other schools that are also interested in STEM. So this is the group that if you're interested in STEM, this is your group. And then Gender Revolution, also known as Gender Rev, is a support and advocacy group for transgender, gender nonconforming, and non-binary students and their allies at Barnard and Columbia. Follow them on Instagram, CU Gender Rev. Give folks a second to take a picture or follow, do what you need to do. Also, if you see me, my cat is photobombing a little bit, so I apologize if that's distracting. So we have Proud Colors, which was one of the groups I was mentioning in the quiz. Proud Colors is Columbia and Barnard's organization for queer and trans people of color and their allies. They're very, very active on Instagram. They just got their Instagram last year. So CU Proud Colors. Really amazing organization. And they have a link tree to different resources on campus and different student of color organizations and actives and advocacy on campus as well. So they're really great folks to get in contact with, get connected to. We have Columbia Queer and Asian on Facebook, Columbia Q&A. Is a group dedicated to creating a community space for queer and trans Asian identified students. We have QFaith, which is actually our newest recognized LGBTQ student group. So QFaith is an interfaith group committed to supporting queer and trans students of faith. They're brand new, so their social media accounts are coming soon in construction. So QFaith kind of came out, I mentioned earlier the 2018 LGBT student survey. One of the most interesting data points that came out of that survey was that a majority of the students on campus who identified as LGBTQ also identified with a specific faith or spiritual tradition and wanted a space to kind of understand and work through those intersections and those nuances. And so there was a group of students that were wanting to create some sort of space, and so we partnered to get them formally recognized through the university. So QFaith, there are a few queer or LGBTQ inclusive faith-specific groups. There's a queer Catholics group up at Union Theological Summit. It's open to all schools. There's JQ, Jewish and Queers at the Craft Center, but QFaith is the first interfaith group. So it doesn't matter what faith or spiritual tradition you adhere to. We also have Queer Awareness Month, which is a history and heritage month, but it operates like a student group. So it has an e-board and it has positions and people have to run and get elected for it. Oh, I apologize, the text is incorrect. This is the all sex, but basically QAM, Queer Awareness Month at Columbia University, is on Facebook. It is in the month of October. So those are the student groups. And then in terms of programming that we run through LGBTQ Columbia and what I run, we do Trans Awareness Week. We also support and advise QAM, Queer Awareness Month, in the fall. Queer Awareness Month, the board is of all 4 schools, so CCCs, Barnard, and GS. And I'm one of the advisors, as the advisor from GS and Barnard as well, and work with them to create, every year there's a theme to QAM. Last year was Queer Galaxies to Fluidity and Beyond, so the infinite reimaginings and opportunities of what queer and transness looks like and what is the future of queer and transness. Trans Awareness Week, and some of this stuff, here's a Q Splash flyer. We do a See You Out of Town, which is an outing series. At the bottom, we saw a play that was a multilingual performance downtown. And we have a Quench series, so Queer Plus Lunch Quench. So it's a complimentary dinner or lunch and discussion series. So some of the things we did last year were talking about queer aesthetics and queer cinema. And a way to stay involved and with if you're interested in joining student groups, going to their meetings or getting involved in larger programming, just hang on 1 second. We're gonna talk about that in a second. So we talked about advocacy, we talked about education, we talked about student group activity and advisement. I advise all of those groups, and then some community programs that we run. But we also do individual support. So you'll see on the screen there on the left, there's a screen cap of a book. It's called youcanbook.me. It is a website that I utilize to book students to book appointments with me. And so you'll see on the right a QR code that you can book an appointment with me. Specifically this year, given the virtual nature, not everyone's on campus and the community is really spread out, really prioritizing and being intentional about having me be as accessible to students as possible. So I can do individual and or group meetings. Feel free to book an appointment with me now. I'm happy to answer and meet with you. And I can answer really any question that you have, that you wanna be more private, more one-on-one. I am also born and raised in New York City. So if you're interested in learning about LGBTQ life in the city and organizations and places to get involved off campus, I can also as well. Anything about health, name change, processes with professors, things like that, definitely willing. This will not be the only time you get the link. Subsequent emails that you will get from me, on the bottom of my email signature, there's a hyperlink of book a meeting with me. And click that link and it'll take you to the same page. Once you click a time, you just fill out a quick form about name, uni, what you want to meet about, and then it's automatically booked in my calendar. So please, please, please take a photo of this, take a QR code, bookmark it for later, and also share it with your friends. Share it with folks incoming students who may have questions about LGBTQ student life on campus and resources and spaces and how to get involved in leadership and things like that. Feel free to also spread my name, my email, which I'll share in a second, and this link as well to book a meeting with me as well. I do individual meetings and group meetings as well. So I look forward to meeting with all of you, hopefully at one point, and also just throughout your time at Columbia. So getting involved in opportunities. So there's a few ways to get involved up in the fall. Even though we are remote and things are gonna look a little different than the typical year, we do recruitment for first years. So we have first year representatives on all of our advisory boards. So if you are interested in joining the Queer and Trans Advisory Board and working on advocacy projects with myself and returning students, we will be doing recruitment for QTAB at the end of August and beginning of September. So be on the lookout for that. And for Trans Awareness Week, we actually plan and lead the week through a programming board. So it's an open board for students to join. You don't necessarily need to have previous programming experiences, just as long as you have some ideas and a unique perspective, we would love for you to join us. So it's open to first years as well. And we do that recruitment in September as well. For folks who may be interested in QAM and Queer Awareness Month, we do that recruitment in the spring. So be on the lookout for that as well. If you want to join a student group's just general body or their e-board, and there's something called the Columbia Mentoring Initiative, which is also known as CMI, which you may hear at different points throughout the, countdown to Columbia and things like that. They have an LGBTQ family tree, but they also have a host of different family trees. And so for folks who live at the intersection of multiple identities and things like that, you have a wide range of folks to get connected with and mentorship and support in whatever you feel like you need. And how to get connected to these opportunities, leadership, and just to stay up to date on where's the student group meeting? What time are they meeting? Are they meeting on Zoom? Are they meeting on Google Hangouts? How is that working? We have an LGBTQ at Columbia weekly email. And if you scan this QR code, it'll take you to a Google form. All you need to do is submit your email, and that's it. It is a once a week email. It is once a week because it is me that sends it. I sent it to you. And it's really just stay updated on student group activities, campus events, whether it's our events or other events, leadership opportunities. So if folks are interested in getting involved with any leadership opportunities previously, or if another office has something that will co-advertise, and beyond, if there's anything happening in New York that I think is really cool, and we think, oh, that's awesome, let's do it, we'll send that out as well. And so please fill this out. I know incoming students, y'all are gonna be put on a good amount of listservs and emails, and I understand that it may seem like a lot, but I do promise it is once a week only. I will not spam you, I promise. And if you ever want to unsubscribe from the email list, you can just respond to the email letting me know that you want to be unsubscribed. You can also subscribe to the email also at any time by just emailing me, asking to be subscribed. And also if you have emails of your friends or folks like that you would want to be interested and couldn't make this webinar or any future webinars, feel free to also send me their emails as well. But this is really the best place to follow and keep up to date with us and what's happening on campus and with LGBTQ student life at the university. Also like us on Facebook. We have our Facebook page. We also have a shared Instagram with the Office of Multicultural Affairs at large. And so please feel free, we post articles, news things. Also leadership opportunities will also get posted on here, but we're more active on our listserv. But please feel free to follow us. That is a photo of Lo in rainbow. Yes, that is a real photo. That happens every year during Pride Month. And yes, and that QR code on the bottom right will take you to our Instagram page. So please give us a follow and give us a like on Facebook to stay up to date. And unfortunately, given this semester, some folks will be on campus, some folks won't be on campus, but regardless, I want to share where you can find me and find where our programming happens. So we have two different locations. So we mentioned Audre Lorde earlier in the Kahoot quiz. This past February, really amazingly and with an honor, our lounge in Learner 505, our lounge space, which is where our office is, was rededicated the Audre Lorde community space. And we had this beautiful ceremony where Audre Lorde's family was present and dedicated the plaque. And it was a really moving ceremony, and we have pieces of her work all over the space. And so that's on Learner 505 on the 5th floor. And that's where my office is. I have an open door policy when we're on campus. If my door is open, feel free to come in and knock. I love when students stop by and say hello. So never feel like you're interrupting me or causing a bother. I love when students just stop by and say hello. I also mentioned earlier the Stephen Donaldson Lounge, again, named after Stephen Donaldson, the person who founded and spearheaded LGBTQ student life at Columbia. We have a lounge, so a specific dedicated space for LGBTQ student groups to meet and also programming to take place. It is a lounge in Shapiro Hall, which is a residence hall on 115th Street, right off of Broadway. If you've ever been to campus yet, there's a Morton Williams grocery store. It's a building right behind that. And in that lounge, student groups have their weekly meetings in that space. Most of the groups have their events. A lot of smaller scale events, like our Quench discussion events, and our Trans Awareness Week events also happen in that space as well. It's also just a lounge. So anybody with an active CU or Barnard ID will be able to access the space. So definitely feel free to take a screenshot of this as well. If you also just look up LGBTQ Columbia or Stephen Donaldson Lounge on Google, you will also find where the spaces are located as well. And this is me, so stay connected with me. Again, my name is Vanessa Gonzalez-Sigo. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm the Associate Director for Multicultural Affairs and LGBTQ Outreach. My direct email is vag2135@columbia.edu. Again, feel free to just take a picture of this slide for your reference. And then LGBTQ Columbia, we just have a general alias, which is just LGBTQ lgbtq.columbia.edu. My booking page is already open, so I'm already meeting with incoming students and current students and returning students. So feel free to shoot me an email. Any question, there's no such thing as an irrelevant or stupid question. Please ask all of your questions. Really, a lot of my role is to make sure that students are supported and connected and get what they need. And so please utilize me as your resource, as your hub. Any questions or support that you may need, please let me know. And that's a photo of me. Great, so now is kind of the time for questions. Any questions? I'm gonna open the Q&A window. I haven't been able to see them this whole time, so if folks have been submitting questions, I apologize. We have a few questions in the Q&A. Just give me a moment. Awesome. So someone asked about there's a question about healthcare on campus. Yes, so Columbia Health has comprehensive trans healthcare. Within Columbia Health, as you can imagine, Columbia being just a large university, it's a very large entity in a body. And so there's a lot of information and a lot of different things kind of scattered everywhere on web pages and people in different spaces, which is a part of what inspired QTAP to take on the Wellness Guide as our project this year, to kind of compile that information so it's kind of succinct and all in one place. If folks who are interested in electing N2 hormones or microdosing, potentially microdosing hormones, hormones can be initiated and prescriptions can be filled on campus. Or if you feel more comfortable, they can be filled off campus. CPS, there is actually a support space for queer and trans students called Cutie Talks. It's actually co-facilitated by myself and a clinician, Dr. Corey Bennett at Columbia Psychological Services. And if you are interested in seeking counseling or things like that, or interested in seeking or needing letters for anything, there is a list of queer and trans competent clinicians on the Columbia Health website. So there's a wide variety of queer and trans affirmative health at Columbia Health, as well as gender affirming contraception and things like that. Another question that has come in is regarding housing. So there's a few things about housing that I want to highlight. So through Multicultural Affairs, we also oversee a housing community called the IRC, or the Intercultural Resource Center. The IRC actually predates our office and has been a hub and historically been the center of student of color, specifically BIPOC student organizing at Columbia. So that's also like a living learning community in the sense that folks live together in a dorm as well as organize and put on their own programming. Similar to IRC, but not through us, but is organized through Residence Life, is Q House. So Queer House for Q House for short. It's a brownstone, both are brownstones on 114th Street, a block from campus, not even. It's across the street from one of the entrances to campus. And Q House is really great. We're actually doing a partnership this year through Q House, really to center QTPOC students within our community called QTPOC Socials, monthly, and also Q House. You can live there and they also do their own programming as well. There's also a trans housing policy at Columbia, meaning that students can elect on their housing application while they're filling out kind of the returner application. The returning student application looks different than a new student application. You may have seen it as a new student, incoming student, about needing accommodation based off of gender identity, what your needs are, and then I get a notification, housing gets a notification, and we work out a best case scenario. There's also, in multiple dorms, again, I don't work in housing, so I forget the names of which dorms, but in multiple dorms, there are options for gender inclusive housing as well, where are floors that it's not gender specific. Yes, so there's a few options. Another one was professional career advice. So yeah, so you may have seen through the Countdown to Columbia emails, or you will be soon, there's a Center for Career Advising on campus. And so they do a series of panels and workshops throughout the year. One of them is being out in the workplace. So really highlighting and bringing back recent alum and CCE or the career counselors who are also queer and trans identified, talking about their experience, navigating the job process. And they also have a resource on their website that talks about How do you, disclose your identity in a cover letter? How do you, if your resume of involvement on campus is all, I was in CQA, I was in Proud Colors, I did the Trans Awareness Week programming board, you did all this leadership, but you're not sure if you want to necessarily disclose all that information, right? Depending on what that could potentially lead to, or what misconceptions or feelings that may do for a potential employer. They also, on that resource on the website, they talk a little bit about how to rewrite those things where you still kind of capture the leadership skills and the things that you can do and bring to that into that workplace, yet without disclosing anything about personal information if you're not comfortable doing so. That resource, and also the housing and Columbia Health, all of those things and all of the different resources, a lot of the resources that have come for queer and trans students throughout the university have been funneled through the Queer and Trans Resource Team, which I didn't necessarily highlight in this presentation because it's actually a faculty and staff body that I meet with monthly, and we work on different advocacy projects and development in different areas of the university throughout the year. Oftentimes QTAB, which is the Student Advisory Board, will have links with the resource team to do a joint project, where the Wellness Guide this year is our joint project. There's only 3 minutes left, so I just want to wrap up quickly by saying thank you so much for joining. I know this was a lot of information, and I'm sure folks are writing notes and taking a lot of pictures. This session is being recorded, and so we'll be able to go up live for you to view afterwards. Again, if AI closed captioning was not available this time, it will be available by the time this goes live. Any questions, comments, or concerns, or just curiosities, questions that you may have that I did not cover in this presentation, because we only had an hour, feel free to email me at vag2135@columbia.edu, or just lgbtq@columbia.edu, or book an appointment with me through the link that I shared in the presentation. Just so you all know, there's an upcoming potential workshop through NSAP called the LQ 101. So it's a quick snapshot into what our Safe Zone does look like, because we are doing them virtually, and we have kind of shifted them into the virtual moment. So thank you again so much for all of you for joining me. Any other questions or follow-ups, please send me an email, and I look forward to hopefully seeing you all soon, and also, and more importantly, being in community and building community with you. Welcome to Columbia. Welcome to the LGBTQ student community. And above all, welcome home. Thank you for choosing Columbia, and I look forward to seeing you on campus. Thanks, y'all.